Breakfast by the beach, from John chapter 21, verses 1 through 19. Now that Jesus had risen from the dead, his disciples didn't exactly know what to do. Remember, there were a lot of things they had heard Jesus say, but they didn't always understand what he meant. They were staying together a lot, however. Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, James, John, and a couple of others were together. That's 7. When Peter announced, "I go a-fishing," or in other words, "I'm going fishing." So there they were, way up in Galilee, on Peter's fishing boat all night long. You can see in the map, Jesus had been crucified in Jerusalem. Now they were up north in Galilee. And here they were fishing all night long. They were waiting, working, talking, but they didn't catch any fish. As the sun began to rise, they could see someone standing on the shore. He called to them across the quiet water. Then Jesus saith unto them, "Children, have you any meat?" They answered him, "No." That's from John 21, verse 5. From the shore, the voice said, "Cast the net on the right side of the ship, and ye shall find." In other words, throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you'll find some fish. As they cast the net, John must have been thinking, this feels familiar. Jesus told us to do the very same thing one time. It was the very first time he got in our boat. We had also been fishing all night and had caught nothing. When Jesus told us to let down our nets that time, so many fish filled the nets that the nets nearly broke. And suddenly, these nets were full just like that time. The men could hardly hold them. That's when John realized who was on the shore. "It's the Lord!" John shouted at Peter. Peter grabbed his coat, put it on, jumped into the water, and swam to the shore. Clearly, he couldn't wait to see Jesus. As the rest of the men held the nets and rowed to the shore, they saw that a little fire was already going. Fish and bread were cooking on the fire. Jesus had prepared for them to eat with him. He said, "Bring of the fish which ye have now caught. We'll cook them too." Peter dragged the full fish net ashore, and they counted the fish, 153. And yet, as full as the net had been, it had not torn open. As a fisherman, Peter probably knew that this many fish were likely to break a net. It was completely amazing. Jesus had brought them lots of fish, and he had also made sure the net didn't break. Jesus said to them, "Come and dine. Come and have breakfast." Jesus passed fish and bread to them. This is now the 3rd time that Jesus showed himself to his disciples after that he was risen from the dead. That's John 21, verse 14. As they ate, the men must have wondered, why would Jesus come so far to find us? Why would he give us such a catch of fish and then feed us? Of course, Jesus had reasons. When they finished eating, Jesus began to talk to Peter. So when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these?" He saith unto him, "Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee." He saith unto him, "Feed my lambs." Remember the night before Jesus died on the cross? Peter had denied that he even knew Jesus 3 times. Peter must have been wondering if Jesus would ever forgive him for this awful lie. But now, Jesus was asking Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter replied, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." Now, Jesus could have said, "Well, If you love me at all, why did you lie and run away when I was in trouble?" But Jesus did not say that. Instead, Jesus asked the same question 2 more times. He saith unto him again the second time, "Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me?" He saith unto him, "Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee." He saith unto him, "Feed my sheep." He saith unto him again the third time, "Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me?" Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, "Lovest thou me?" And he said unto him, "Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee." Jesus saith unto him, "Feed my sheep." Jesus asked the same question 3 times. Jesus gave Peter the chance to tell him that he loved him 3 times. 1 time for each time Peter had denied knowing Jesus. Jesus wanted Peter to know he was forgiven. He wanted Peter to know he had never given up on Peter. And so, Jesus gave Peter a job to do. He was to feed and take care of Jesus' sheep, Jesus' followers. Jesus showed his forgiveness. He showed he trusted Peter with this important job. He knew Peter would be a leader. Have you ever done something wrong to someone and been worried that the person you hurt wouldn't forgive you? That must have been how Peter felt when he saw Jesus. But Jesus forgave Peter. He loves and forgives us too. Ephesians 4:32 says, "And be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you." Because we have been forgiven, we can forgive others, even when it is hard. Lots of times, people keep track of the wrong things people do to them. It's keeping a record of what people owe. But when God forgives us, He doesn't hold on to the wrong things we have done. He chooses to treat us as if we have never sinned. He gives us a clean slate. When we need to forgive someone, we can ask God to help us forgive that person. Forgiving others and being forgiven helps us start over again with a clean slate, just like this chalkboard. Connecting to Jesus. After Peter realized that he had denied Jesus 3 times, Peter cried. It says in the scriptures, he went out and he wept bitterly. Peter must have felt terrible about what he had done. And then remember in our lesson today, Jesus asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" Each time Peter answered, "Yes." Jesus showed forgiveness by giving Peter the chance to right the wrong he had done. Forgiving others can be difficult, but if we ask Jesus for his help, we can forgive too. And this is the end of the Gospel of John, and it says, "This is the disciple which testifieth of these things, and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true." It's talking about John. And this is the last verse. It says, "And there are also many other things which Jesus did, the which, if they should be written every one, I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books that should be written." Amen.